Bob here, Chopper Bob Customs, and in this video work continues on the 1957 Volkswagen 23 window. Please like the videos on Chopper Bob Customs. Tell your friends, share the videos on social media. Comment. I like to hear comments from you guys. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Subscribe and set the notifications so as the videos pop up, you'll be notified that a new one has come up from Chopper Bob Customs. As I've told you several times, I've got lots of interesting things. Of course, this 23 window is very exciting for me to be working on. But I've got the altar that I'm going to be working on. I'll probably be posting some funny car racing videos with Diamond R Racing, the Custom Autos by Tim, Blown Retirement Funny Car, and probably be doing some work on my 41 and some other things. So like I said, share, like, comment, subscribe, set the notifications. So here we go with some more work on the 23 window. With this whoop-de-doo mostly eliminated, I need to figure out how much of this panel right here I need to replace. That way I can go ahead and make the panel, cut this one out, and get it fit. So the biggest problem with this is obviously it's really rotten down here. There's nothing to attach the lower part of this panel to, and then the rot comes up into here somewhere. I think there's a hole right there. So I need to strip the paint off of this and see if I can see where I'm at. I've got a hole, obviously I've got a hole right here, and then this series of holes down through here, and this is completely rotten. But I do have a hole right here, and I've got a hole right here. So basically I'm going to need to come over and do this right here. I believe this is remnant of the dent. There's really nothing in behind it. But that right there, I'm sure, is a resistance weld holding it to the inner wheelhouse. And that's probably what that one was. No, maybe not. It might have been in behind this mess right here. I'll know when I get it cut out and see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this back another inch or so, and then I'm going to make my template. I went back an inch was I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything hiding under the paint. It does look good and solid. I'll probably do the cut here, that way I'll have clean places to weld, and I'm going to be fitting this pretty tight because I'm going to be TIG welding it. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab some masking tape and see if I can't make a pattern for this. So and that was probably overkill for such a small panel as this, but it's a good practice to get into when you're doing these, to make your pattern robust. Because the better the pattern is, the better your finished product is going to be. You can put bad things into a good pattern when you're making the part, but it's a lot harder to put good things into a bad pattern. So take your time, do the pattern right, because that is going to be what dictates how the finished part comes out. And because this is rotten down here, I'm being very careful to try and make sure I get a straight line, and I'll probably check it when the time comes. The other thing is I'm starting with a fresh razor blade. Here again, they are cheap enough that you're not going to break the bank with that. And then it'll follow this line right here. And it's going to be bad when I get into the rotten stuff, but we'll do our best. See, that doesn't even stick. And you burn through a lot of masking tape. And let's see, I probably am going to have to take a little bit more paint off than what I did. Let's come up to about right there. And let's come across there. Having wasp problems in the shop, and I did not get up high enough on this one, so I'm going to have to add to it. But that's okay, I can do that. And I am going to curve around here simply because I do not want a sharp corner when I go to weld this in. Of course, the curve's not going to be exactly there, but I want to remind myself when I'm cutting that that's what I want to do. Okay, so now with that, I'm going to get set up for the next part of this. So let me turn the video off. While I had the camera off, I did go ahead and Sharpie around the outside of this so that I have a good representation of what this is supposed to look like. Now we'll carefully peel it off of here. So there's what the part should look like, and I do need to do a little bit more cleanup here on the paint, but that will be an easy fix. Let's take care of that right now. Make the hammer form tooling, and I'm making it out of 3/4 inch MDF. And so what I want to do is I want to start 3/4 of an inch from this edge, because that is going to be the width of the flange The actual flange on the other piece is 7/8, but this is 3/4 inch MDF, so that basically tells me how far this needs to be up from the bottom. This edge can be right on the edge of the board. Get the wrinkles out of it. Now the one thing that we do need to make sure is that this line is still straight, which it's not really. So let me get my razor blade and come in here and just ever so slightly turn that off. It's not much. Okay, now this needs to be 3/4 inch wider. For its flange. We'll see how square this all is. Probably not. Not too bad. Okay, so there is the edge of the actual part. And there is the edge of the tooling. I'm just going to go ahead and make it straight across here. And it just hit me that what I was actually doing was making the metal part and not the tooling when I was laying this all out, but it's good practice. Okay, so we're going to make this line right in through here to get that wheel opening flange. There's the whoop-de-doo from where it's rotted out, and that brings it down like that. Okay, so now I've got to make one more of these because I actually will need two tooling, a top and a bottom. And what I'll do basically is I will allow that 3/4 inch to be scrap. Now, Carl Fisher, I've been watching a lot of his videos. If you want to learn a lot about this type of thing, you can go watch Make It Custom. Carl Fisher does some really nice work, and I've been kind of following him on how to make these MDF tooling. He started out, I believe, by making the top slightly smaller than the bottom to make room for the hammer, but I think what he's done in more recent videos is to keep a crisp line, he has made them the same size. And we'll get into that when I start actually making the, when I actually start hammering. This is all prep work.
I've got these cut out. I think what I'm going to do is turn the video off and go over to the belt sander and see if I can't get these lined out a little bit cleaner, particularly on this curve. Realistically, the only thing we're going to be using on this is this curve right here. This over here is going to be a register for the flan that's going to go up against it. We'll sandwich the part in there, and then we'll roll over the flange for the wheel opening. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this because I can't really get the video in on the belt sander. I will be back. Okay, I believe I have a piece of steel that's going to work here. This is just 18 gauge cold rolled carbon steel. I know the project I worked on last with it, so it's really relatively clean. But it never hurts, because when you're in the shop it's going to get a little bit of oil on it from the air. So let's go ahead and get it cleaned up. This is the side where the 3/4 inch flange needs to be. So we're going to go ahead and come over 3/4 inch. This needs to be 3/4 inch flange as well. So just going to come in here and put some marks and connect them by hand. This is the wheel opening, so if it's not exactly perfect, it's not going to make a huge difference. And as I'm doing this, this part of the metal is going to be stretching. And so chances are it's not going to be exact anyway when it's all done, because it is going to be stretched. Now what we're going to do is come in. The first cut I'm going to make is going to be about 1/4 inch away from my line. That's to keep it from distorting the metal, and we'll see how this goes. Take this over to the brake and put this flange in it, and since I'm going to be coming up against it, I'm going to have to make the marks on the other side. So I'm going to very carefully roll this over the edge. And it's kind of important that you pay attention to which direction you're braking, because if not, you're going to end up making the piece for the other side of the car. So just use a little bit of common sense while you're doing this. There's going to be the brake line. Okay, and I think probably I need to cut this corner out too. I need to cut that corner out right there, because that is not actually. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and do this by hand. Okay. So I think I'll go ahead and pause the video because I'm just going to run over to the brake. So we've got the 90-degree brake in it right here. That's registered up against this part of the die. If you can imagine, it's going to sit in the car like this, and so the flanges go into the car. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work around this area right in here with this clamped in solid so that it can't move. And you're going to have to watch your line real close, and part of this line has gotten a little bit out of kilter, but so we'll go ahead and redraw it on there. And so let's get it clamped in the vise. And it is extending a little bit beyond the edge, but let me clamp it as close to the edge as I can get it. And this needs to be tight because you don't want it slipping through there. And because of that, I'm going to go ahead and put probably a couple of clamps on it up a little higher to make sure that I've got a good clamp on this, because we do not want it moving. And then for the hammer, because this is a inside curve like this, we're going to want a hammer that has some curve to it. If you just went in and started hitting it with this flat hammer, what you're going to do is you're going to put a bunch of creases in it, and you don't want to do that. So let me go grab a hammer, and it probably is a good idea to use a couple of different ones. This one right here is probably a good one to start with because it's got a very rounded face to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically just start working this down. And as we do this, it's going to stretch. And the hammer will help that happen. You don't want to take it all at one shot. You want to work your way across the face. And you can see when this rounded face hits the edge of that metal, how it is stretching it out as you come around. It's really tight, curved. It's going to take a little bit more work, and this will all loosen up as you go, so always be making sure that you're staying tight. And you'll see a line basically start on through here. Now what you can see is it's stretched in this area right here, but it's not stretched here. So we need to start working that down to get the stretch down to the edge so it doesn't buckle on us as we're doing this. And then work your way back into the inside. Still got. Make sure your C-clamps are tight because it's starting to actually twist in the vise. It would have probably been better if I could have come all the way over. And I think what I'm going to do is see if I can't reposition this one so that it kind of blocks it from turning. Because what I've got is just a small area right in here that needs to be worked, and I may go ahead and try and work it with this one. A little bit more. Okay, let's pulled it down there. I need to well, you can see that, but I need a little bit more stretch in that area right there. Happens pretty easily. Okay, I have a little bit of trimming to do here. Let's pull it out and see what we've got. I think I'm going to go ahead and move that out of place. Let me, Okay, let's see what we've made here. Okay, a little bit of cleanup. Got to trim that. And we've got the wheel opening. Done a little bit of fine tuning with hammer and dolly and to get this a lot closer to what I wanted. I've gone ahead and trimmed this flange down. Same thing with this one here, so that it comes to this point. I'll probably have to do a little bit more trimming when the time comes to mate up this panel back here. But for right now, I've gone ahead and marked where the panel is going to go, and then I've come in and drawn a line a 1/4 inch smaller. What that'll allow me to do, that'll allow me to get this panel back in there flush and put a scribe mark on this panel right here, so I can trim it right to the scribe mark and then have no gap all the way around this panel. The other thing that I've done is I've approximated where the flange for the wheelhouse comes down through here, and so that is going to be an area that I won't be cutting directly. I'll have to be very careful just to skim through it, and then I'll probably have to take that resistance weld out of it right there. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting and see how this all goes. When I would get in here and find what I just found, I would probably replace it. The problem with this is, on this particular van, if you were to do everything that needs to be done on it, this would be in here for several years. And my customer on this car wants to take it and drive the crap out of it. He just wants this corner fixed so he can mount the bumper on it. There's a little bit of rot in this panel, but I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, get the thing fit. Put some weld through primer on it, put a resistance weld. I'll probably put one there. I'll probably get some melt through on that, so that should hold it in place. And I think it's going to be strong enough to hold it in place. It's not going to last as long as it could have if we do it correctly, but as I said, we're really just trying to get this up Pike's Peak. pretty good for a place to scribe it. Scribe mark in there. Toughest part's going to be this inside corner right here. But basically if I cut up to that scribe line, then this should be a perfect gap, no gap fit. Okay, so I've got the scribe mark in here and I'm going to go ahead and cut it out and try and get as close to that line as I can, and then I'll clean it up with the sanding disc. Show me where to put the hole for the rosette weld that needs to go in there. Okay, I've got it set up with virtually no gap. I've got the hole drilled for the rosette weld that I'm going to put in there. I'm going to treat this with some weld through primer. This piece right here has got some weld in, some holes in it, but it's still basically fairly strong. So here again, I'd have to tear the car practically apart to get it. So I got some weld through on the back of this. Got weld through on my fingers. So let's slide this up into place.
Okay, with it all cleaned up, I'll get the welder set up and we'll start putting some tacks in here to hold it in place.